Good morning or afternoon to everyone. I'm Hewie Poplock. I'm your host for today. Ron Brown is my co-host. The first of every month, I handle the meeting. Ron kind of takes it easy for a few days prior to the meeting. He doesn't have to do the work. I've got to do it. And then I handle the hosting chores for today. I'm glad you're here. And let's see, in my notes, this is a 1-hour show about technology with Q&A at the end. Today, we are talking about security, of course. Bob talks about it. We don't run out of information, so Bob has lots to talk about. Then will be cloning and operating system will be done by Ray. And then Chris Guld is back from the other side of the pond, and she's going to be talking about fun with photos. And then I'm going to come back and talk about my new iPad and how I got started with it and how I set it up. And then Bob will be back for 12 holiday scams to watch out for. And then we'll end up with Ray's music is the outro, and then we'll have time for the Q&A. And then don't forget that we have the older reply and so on of the premiere video. And today we're going to feature EV Cars Part 2 with Mike Ungerman, and Mike's with us today. And then my favorite YouTube channels, Ron Brown's going to be talking about that. And then there'll be something called Site Search Panel by Hewie Poplock, or Side Search Panel. Sorry about that. And Ron, what's the story on the premiere today?
Well, you just mentioned it, that we have a great lineup for you today. Now, specifically regarding the one of the videos is called My Favorite YouTube Channels, which was we started in our newsletter. Each week I publish one of my favorite channels, because I have a lot of interests on YouTube. And so we've been doing that for 52 weeks now. And each week in the newsletter, we have a new channel that I describe and what we use it for. I guess my question is everybody interested in that? Is it fun? Do you watch it? Is it something you want to continue with? So if you have any comments on that, if you could just drop me a note, that would be great. We're trying to always keep the newsletter going. And if you're interested and it's fun, then we'll keep that section going in the newsletter. But I would like some feedback on that. Speaking of the newsletter, there is only 2 weeks left till Black Friday. Yes, 2 more weeks till Black Friday. So in the newsletter, you'll see that I have, and I'll leave those in for this month. There are 3 videos I've made: purchase considerations for a PC, purchase considerations for a Chromebook, and of course, purchase considerations for an Apple device. You'll find those video links in our newsletter. If you have not subscribed to our newsletter, please make sure you do. That's where all our communication information is from. I want to thank JJ Johnson for his generous donation this week. Helps pays the bills. Thank you so much, JJ. That was just great. So if you do have some extra change before Black Friday, throw it our way. It always is helpful to pay the bills. Take it away, Hewie.
All right. Thank you very much, Ron. And let's see who's here today. Bob G. How are you today?
Good. Ron, we're talking about Black Friday. Don't forget, Walmart Plus has their Black Friday early.
Oh.
It starts on the 10th.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Cool.
Don't forget.
Okay.
And I happen to like them, I think, more than I do the big guy.
We better put that on the list for Thursday. We should talk about it for the Thursday show. That's a good one, Bob. Yeah, that's a great one. Excellent. Thanks for reminding me.
Ray's here. Ray, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm really proud of myself. I got into the session today on the correct time, because as the rest of the country moves to standard time, Arizona stayed at standard time, so everything is an hour off. So now I go through this twice-a-year process of trying to remember what time it is elsewhere.
Yes, and Ray, I understand you were unanimously reelected as president of APCUG and as treasurer of APCUG. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the honor. Of course, nobody was running against me, so it wasn't that hard.
Or it might be condolences. That might be condolences.
Yes. But we
Yeah,
are
we've
always
got-
looking for people to help in the APC.
Bill James, you're here today.
I am.
Welcome back. He was missing in action for a couple of weeks. He had some company from way up in the cold country, and
Alaska.
he's back with us.
Yes. Happy to be here. We have a nice day. It's 71 degrees. Maybe going to get a little warmer, and then we're in for some more cold weather.
Yeah, we aren't getting any rain here in Florida, but it's 80 today. But the nights have been down and being cool. Chris Guld, welcome back.
Hi. Yeah, we were over in England for a couple of weeks and then just on the road in our van for a month. So we've been away from home for 6 weeks. We're back now. Beautiful Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah,
83
well,
degrees.
We're glad you're back. By any chance, did you drive your RV to England?
No,
We do like
I-
ferries, but
Yeah.
that would be a long one.
that would be.
Yeah, it sure would be.
They haven't finished the tunnel yet. That's the problem. Otherwise, it would have been a no-brainer.
I will be sharing a few photos during my segment today.
And it'll be
All right.
interactive. So pay attention.
All right. Also, Tech for Seniors is in our 4th year. Don't forget our website. Don't forget our Tech for Senior Live on Thursdays. That's always a good time. Just some of us talking heads get together and talk about tech, and we invite all of you to join in, but you don't have to even talk. All you have to do is listen, and you can type in a question or a comment along the way. So by all means, that's not a Zoom meeting now. You do that with Facebook and with YouTube. So on Thursday, don't come here to our Zoom meeting because we won't be here. And then this Sunday is the Windows SIG, the Windows Special Interest Group that I host for the Central Florida Computer Society and the Sarasota Technology User Group, but we open it all to you as well. And just go to hewie.net, sign up for my newsletter. It'll go out in a few days, and it'll give you all the information on how you sign up. If you're already signed up, you don't have to sign up again. So I know several of you do that, and you don't need to. And be sure to register or subscribe to our free newsletter. There's so much good news in there and articles that all of us contribute. We spend the time to put it out there. There's some good articles. I always find them interesting, even mine. And by all means, please read them. And as Ron said, he is doing one article. Make sure you let him know that you like those articles so that he'll keep doing them. Okay, with that, we'll get started for the day, and we'll start with Bob.
Here is my security news roundup for the week ending November 3rd, 2023. Canada bans WeChat and Kaspersky apps on government devices. Canada on Monday announced a ban on the use of apps from Tencent and Kaspersky on government mobile devices, citing an unacceptable level of risk to privacy and security. The Government of Canada is committed to keeping government information and networks secure, the Canadian government said. We regularly monitor potential threats and take immediate action to address risks. To that end, Tencent's WeChat and Kaspersky's suite of applications have been removed from government-issued mobile devices effective October 30th, 2023. Going forward, users of these devices will be blocked from downloading the apps. Read more at thehackernews.com. President Biden issues executive order to set standards for AI safety and security. U.S. President Joe Biden has issued an executive order that seeks to establish new standards for AI safety and security, including requirements for companies developing foundational AI models to notify the federal government and share results of all safety tests before they're deployed to the public. The Biden-Harris administration, for its part, has also been focusing on AI safety in lieu of anything legally binding, securing voluntary commitments from the major AI developers, including OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Meta, and Amazon. This was always intended as a prelude to an executive order, though, which is what is being announced today. The order is lacking real teeth, as much as it seems to be centered around recommendations and guidelines. For instance, it says that it wants to ensure fairness in the criminal justice system by developing best practices on the use of AI in sentencing, parole and probation, pretrial release and detention, risk assessments, surveillance, crime forecasting, and predictive policing, and forensic analysis. Read more at TechCrunch.com. ℍ𝕠𝕠 leak exposes details of all torrent users. World in HD, a French private video torrent community, left an open instance exposing the emails and passwords of all of its users and administrators. ℍ𝕠𝕠, a popular torrent tracker specializing in HD movies, inadvertently exposed tens of thousands of its users. The Cyber News research team has recently discovered ℍ𝕠𝕠 is a private tracker dedicated to distributing high-definition video content. Registered users can access French and English language TV series, movies, animation, and other content. Unlike public torrent trackers, private trackers are often invitation only and supposedly maintain high standards for uploaded content. User forums lament the tracker's exclusivity, with some selling invites to the website for over $100. Read more at cybernews.com. Researchers find 34 Windows drivers vulnerable to full device takeover. As many as 34 unique vulnerable Windows driver model and Windows driver frameworks drivers could be exploited by non-privileged threat actors to gain full control of the devices and execute arbitrary code on the underlying systems. By exploiting the drivers, an attacker without privilege may erase, alter firmware, and or elevate operating system privileges. Takahiro Haruyama, a senior threat researcher at VMware Carbon Black, said. Read more at thehackernews.com. Researchers expose prolific Puma's underground link shortening service. The threat actor known as Prolific Puma has been maintaining a low profile and operating an underground link shortening service that's offered to other threat actors for at least over the past 4 years. Prolific Puma creates domain names with an registered domain generation algorithm and uses these domains to provide a link shortening service to other malicious actors, helping them evade detection while they distribute phishing, scams, and malware. Infoblox said in a new analysis pieced together from Domain Name Systems Analytics. Read more at thehackernews.com. Say goodbye to clunky QR code scanning for messages for web and say hi to emoji. Instead of scanning a QR code, you'll authenticate by signing into the same Google account. Finally, it seems you'll approve the connection through an emoji picker. It looks like authentication will get easier, more intuitive, and maybe even a little more fun for everyone. According to an APK teardown conducted by 9to5 Google, Google is likely working on an account-based system for messages authentication. This means that everyone, not just Fi subscribers, can connect their account to the web by logging into the same Google account they use on their phones. Easy. Read more at androidauthority.com. FCC wants to raise the bar on minimum broadband speeds. The FCC is considering raising the national benchmark to 100 megabytes for download speeds and 20 megabytes for upload. This is a significant increase to the current standard of 25 megabits download and 3 megabits upload. This standard is not only outdated, it masks the extent to which low-income neighborhoods and rural communities are being left offline and left behind, Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel said in a statement. The last several years, particularly the pandemic stretch, when most of us were stuck at home, showed how critical access to high-speed internet is to both our professional and personal lives. This move is the latest attempt by the FCC to close the digital divide and ensure that more people have access to broadband. Read more at cordcuttersnews.com. This week's must-see on my YouTube channel. 12 holiday scams to watch out for in 2023. 'Tis the season to use common sense and reason. Please watch my video on that topic by following the link listed. Did you know? If you have 3 quarters, 4 dimes, and 4 pennies, you have $1.19. You also have the largest amount of money in coins without being able to make change for $1. Flying from London to New York on Concorde, due to the time zones crossed, you can arrive 2 hours before you leave. You cannot shake hands with a clenched fist, thanks to Indira Gandhi. Hatred paralyzes life, love releases it, thanks to Martin Luther King Jr. Just thought you might want to know. And that's a wrap for this week's Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye, and thanks for watching and listening.
Thank you, Bob. Just a reminder, in Saturday's newsletter from Tech for Seniors, I posted a summary of the president's executive order. So make sure you do take a look at it to get an idea of what he proposes. Anyway, we're going to go next to Ray, and Ray's going to talk about cloning a hard drive. Go ahead, Ray.
All right, let's see. Okay, replacing an operating system drive. Now, perhaps you're upgrading from a HDD hard disk drive, or maybe you're replacing a low capacity solid disk drive. Swapping an existing computer drive that contains the operating system is not difficult when using the Samsung Magician software. Here's the dilemma I was faced with Carol's desktop. Our main computer is an HP desktop running Windows 10 with 16 gig of RAM and an Intel i7 7th generation processor. The bad news is this computer cannot be upgraded to Windows 11, which requires an 8th generation or newer processor, 1 generation off. So as Windows 10 will continue to receive upgrades for the next 2 years, the plan was easy. We were going to wait until then to replace this computer. Now, just also to make this mention, several years ago, computer manufacturers felt it would improve system performance if the operating system and program files were stored on a different drive than the user's documents and other data files. So most of us grew up having just one drive C that had everything, and now this has resulted in modern computers having a drive C and a drive D, as does Carol's. So while drive C on Carol's desktop was an SSD, surprisingly, its capacity was only 128 gigabytes. And with the type of high-end programs she uses, it recently became clear that a larger capacity drive was necessary. Additionally, for reasons I still cannot explain, this drive began to accumulate on its own additional miscellaneous program files, for example, font files that fill the drive to its capacity. So that's where Samsung Magician software comes in. The decision was made to replace the C drive, and the choice was a 2 terabyte Samsung 870 EVO solid-state drive, which was purchased on Prime Day at a discounted price of about $100. The main reason for a Samsung drive was so we could use the Samsung Magician software for the data migration from the old drive to the new one. I've used this software in the past on both a desktop and a 12-year-old laptop without any issues. So while this software is a free download, it only works with Samsung drives. So step one, I needed to connect the new solid-state drive to the computer. So I did this by using a USB 3.0 to solid-state drive adapter. That's a picture of what they look like, with one end connected to the solid-state drive and the other to a USB-A connection on the desktop. Then came step two. I went to the Samsung website and I downloaded the latest version 8 Magician software. You have the choice for either Windows or Mac operating systems, as well as Android. Now, when the download was completed, I followed the instructions to then install the program, and then once it was installed, I started the program. So step three, the data migration. So the Samsung data migration window appears, where I confirmed the source drive was the old solid state and the target drive was the new Samsung. Each disk showed as drive C, which is what I wanted. Now we come to the cloning the old drive to the new drive. The cloning process took less than 20 minutes, and when completed, I shut down the computer. I then took out the old solid-state drive and in its place plugged in the new one. So the end results were the computer booted up from the new solid-state drive, showing 2 terabytes of storage capacity. That's a 67% increase from that old drive. And the added benefit was this mystery of files being added to the C drive stopped. So I think there was something wrong with that original solid-state drive that came with the computer. Now, Samsung provides what's known as benchmark information results. So the new drive on the computer can provide visual indicators of the drive health, the temperature, and how much of the volume or storage capacity is being used. And you can see here in this photo from the benchmark that it gives information regarding sequential read and write and random read and write. Well, let's see what if we can explain what those are. So sequential read and write speeds. I'm going to mention that the information on the next 2 slides has been provided by Bing Chat. A sequential read speed is the speed at which data is read from a storage device in a continuous manner. It is measured in megabytes per second. Now, the ideal sequential read speed depends on the intended use of the storage device. Now, for most users, a minimum sequential read speed of 500 megabytes per second is considered good for everyday tasks, such as web browsing, document editing, and media playback. However, if you're trying to pick the right drive to upgrade your laptop or build a new PC, then the recommendation is a solid-state drive with at least 500 megabytes sequential read and write speed. That is both for the read speed and the write speed. This will comfortably be fast for most tasks. The benchmark on that previous slide showed that the Samsung had a sequential read speed of 560 and a sequential write speed of 516, so surpassing that recommendation. Now, the random read and write speed is even a little bit different here. This measures how fast a storage device can access small chunks of data that is scattered across the drive. This is important for tasks that involve many smaller files, such as booting up or launching applications. Now, the random write speed is measured in input, output, operations per second. That's IOPS. The higher the IOPS, the faster the storage device can access small files. Now, here's an interesting statistic. A typical hard disk drive, the old-fashioned ones we were so used to, has a random read speed of around 0.5 to 1.5 IOPS and a random write speed of around 1 to 2 IOPS. In contrast, solid-state drives have a random speed of 10,000 to 100,000 IOPS and a random write speed of 30,000 to 100,000. Incredible difference. That's why solid-state drives are so much more efficient and faster than the old-fashioned hard disk drives. So the benchmark showed that the Samsung had 74,218 random read and 58,593 for random write. Again, well within the range that we would want. So Carol's computer is now back in business. And I always say, happy wife, happy life. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray. Very interesting. The speeds of those hard drives are just amazing.
Yeah, comparing
All right.
the old ones and the new ones.
Next on our schedule is Chris is back from England, and she's going to talk about photos. So, Chris, take it away.
Thanks, Hewie. Yeah, my favorite topic is travel photos. In case you don't know, I'm Chris Guld. This is my husband, Jim. We are Geeks on Tour, and I am a Google Photos product expert by Google. And the pictures I'm going to be showing you is where Google flew me over to London for a conference. So, I asked to do this live rather than record a video because I want some audience participation from you. In a minute, I am going to post a link into the chat, and I want everybody to click that link and experience what it's like to go along for the ride with somebody who is traveling. So organize and share your travel photos. I'm going to be using Google Photos and the Albums feature. Now, you can do similar things with Apple's iCloud Photos, with Amazon Photos, with OneDrive. I do think Google Photos has just the slickest and easiest way of managing them. And probably my number one point is don't be like the people that say, oh, I took so many pictures on my vacation, it's going to take me a week to organize them all when I get back. No, do it as you go. You can do it right on your phone, or if you brought a laptop, you can do that. Create an album on day one. Share a link to that album with all your friends and family. Then they are seeing it and commenting on it. Trust me, it makes you more aware of posting photos when you're getting the comments from your friends and family. They get notified when you add more pictures, and they can like and comment. So if you follow that, by the time you get home, you're all done. All your travel photos are in an album, and you've already shared it with everybody. So I'm going to do that. So you have to pretend to go back to October 14 with me. So on October 14, we got on a plane to go to London. I want to start an album right away. I like to have a picture of us on the plane. And so there we are. You just click the three dots and add to album. Now this is on the computer. I'll be doing some of this. I'll go back and forth between computer and phone, but computer, and I'm going to say new album. And just to distinguish this from all the other ones I've done, I'm going to call it TFS, Tech for Senior Geeks in London. Now, here's one thing that's brand new with Google Photos albums, and I don't use it yet, so I'm just going to click on remove for these highlights. So it's TFS Geeks in London, and click the check mark. Now I want to go add another picture. So I'll go back and I will look at, I love taking pictures of these maps that are in the back of the seat on the airplane, and I take a bunch of them. I am not going to add all of those. Be selective. Choose your best to add to the album. So I click the three dots, add to album, and TFS Geeks in London. So now I have an album with 2 pictures. I'm going to share it right now. I'm not going to wait. So I click on the TFS. I click the share button, which is up in the upper right. And you share with a link. So create link and create link and copy. Now I'm going to paste that just into our Zoom chat. And I want everybody to click on it. Why can't I find the chat?
Oh.
Summary. I'm looking for the chat. There, I found it. All right, so I'm pasting the link to everybody. And I would like everybody to click on that link. Now, if you do not use Google, then you will still be able to see the photos. If you do use Google, you will see another button called Join. If you click Join, then that means when I add more photos, you will be notified. It also means you'll be able to add comments. So everybody, please click on that link. And I can see already that people have joined. I can look at my album, and up here at the top, I see the people who have joined. I click the little 3 dots, and I can see all the names of the people who have joined. Way cool. When you're traveling, I can't express, it's just really nice to know that there are people following along with you. All right, so now I'm going to go to the phone, and I'm going to add a few more pictures. So as I say, it doesn't matter whether you're on a computer or the phone, everything is still there. You will need an internet connection at least once in a while. You can do this without an internet connection, but it doesn't get sent until you do. So I'm going to go to October 15 now. And this is when we arrived in London, and Google was there with people ready to drive us to the hotel. So I add that. And those of you who have joined should be getting a notification that I just added. And I can go to October. Oh, here's one. A lot of you know Michael Daniels, so I'm going to add his picture to that album. I can also add multiple. I'm on October 15 now, and that was the first party. In the evening, there was the first party. And I want to add that picture. I'll select it. And that video, and that picture, and that picture. So I have selected 4. I can now tap the plus, add to TFS Geeks in London. So all 4 get added. Now, if I go look at the album on my phone here, I'm looking at albums under library, and TFS Geeks in London. And has anybody written a comment? I can see by this little button here, this means show me any comments or activities. And there's a comment. Richard, yes. It's like actually being there when someone is traveling. Yes, I know that Richard did follow us while we were there and left comments, so I knew he was watching and with us. It's such a nice feeling. And as I say, because of that, you tend to add pictures more often. Say, oh, so-and-so would love to see this. So you add it. And by the time you're home, you have organized your travel pictures. Then when you're home, let me go back to the computer.
Okay. You're doing.
And so now I want to show you. Oh, and on the phone, you saw when I clicked on comments, it changed the whole screen. On the phone, you're either looking at your album or you're looking at comments. On the computer, you can see the comments in the activity over on the right-hand side, while you see the album on the left-hand side. Now I want to take you back to the real album that I did make, because it has 250 some odd pictures in it. Well, we were gone for 6 weeks all total. And I believe in not adding more than 6 or 7 pictures per day, but I do add that. So here is our entire 6 weeks trip, and it's all done because I was doing it as we go. I'm home now. What do I want to do? I want to back that up. I open the album, I click the 3 dots and download all. And I download it to an external drive. I won't take the time right now. But the other thing I do then is make a book. Since all of my best pictures for this 6-week trip is in one album, all I have to do is open that album, click the little shopping button, and say, make me a photo book. And it's done. Now you can edit it, you can rearrange it, you can add and subtract, but you don't have to. You can just say, make me a book, click next, pay your money, and you get a book like this in the mail. So that is my way of organizing and sharing my travel photos using Google Albums. And if you have any questions, we'll get to them in the Q&A after. Good.
That was great, Chris. And it looks like you had a great trip.
Oh,
Sure
it was
you.
amazing. Yeah.
But we're glad you're back. And I guess I'm up next. So let's see what I did while you were gone. And that is to go here. Setting up a new iPad from scratch. I'm Hewie Poplock. On Prime Day, October 2023, I decided that it was time to update my iPad. My original iPad was an iPad Air version 1. That model was released in October 2012. I purchased it about a year and a couple of months later in January 2014. It was a refurb directly from Apple. It worked very well for me all these years, but about a year and a half ago, it was no longer supported by Apple and there were no more updates. The updates stopped at version 12.5.7. The latest version is 17.1. There were 162 apps installed, and it stopped updating at version 12.1. After a lot of pondering, I decided not to buy the latest version of the iPad, which is the 10th generation. I decided on the 9th generation. I decided on the iPad 9th generation. It has a 10.2-inch Retina display, 64 gigabytes of storage, Wi-Fi plus the 4G LTE cellular, 12 megapixel front and 8 megapixel back camera, Touch ID, and all-day battery life, and it's the gray one, and I got it as the 9th generation instead of the 10th. Note that the 10th generation doesn't have a start button or a home button. It has it built into the screen, and it's software generated. There are 2 other models that I considered. That's the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. Both are more expensive than the iPad that I purchased, and I decided on the iPad itself. I did not need the higher end units. I often get asked why I want the one model that has Wi-Fi and cellular access. I wanted to be able to use my iPad wherever I am. It doesn't matter if there's no Wi-Fi available or if it's a Wi-Fi that's not safe or secure. I still have access with my iPad. My iPad Air was both Wi-Fi and cellular, so I already had the account. And I was already paying for it. This means that I have a cellular number assigned to my iPad that's used strictly as the iPad, not as a phone. However, I can use it as a phone because I have an app installed and an account from magicJack. When I received my iPad, one of the first things that I had to do was to set it up. I signed in with my Apple ID, which I've had since I bought my first Apple device, and I decided not to back up and restore from my older iPad, but to start with a fresh new machine. I had too many apps already installed on the older iPad and wanted to install from scratch to limit the number of apps that I had installed. I wanted to limit what I was going to have on my iPad and not fill it up, as I only had 64 gigabytes of storage on the new iPad. Let's look at the stats or information on each of my iPads. This is my older iPad Air. It does have storage of 128 gigabytes, where my new one only has 64 gigabytes. But there were 162 applications or apps on the older one, and I want to try to limit that and not have as many on the new one. The new iPad still has over 2,000 photos that held them over. I will delete them from the iPad, but not from Google Photos. But I only have 24 applications, and I'm going to try to keep that down. That uses up a lot of disk space or storage space that I don't want to have used up too quickly on this new iPad. I've been using my old iPad Air strictly as a podcast player, and I keep it near my bed. I purchased a gooseneck holder that I clamped to a bookcase that's at the head of my bed. I compared the speeds of both iPads. I checked both as cellular and Wi-Fi in the same place at approximately the same time. So let's take a look at those speeds. The download and upload speeds for both iPads were very similar. The upload varied from about 6 to around 12 each time I tried it. Using my home Wi-Fi, I'm getting speeds over 400 both down and up. One of the first things I had to do when I was setting up the iPad was to set up the fingerprint access to the system. I have fingerprint access on my Samsung phone, and I like it. Note where I place my finger on that Samsung screen. During the setup, I just couldn't make it work. I kept pushing on the screen where the fingerprint was, and it just wasn't working. I ended up going to the T-Mobile store, and they showed me how to do it. And boy, was I embarrassed. It was so easy. Again, I'm reminding you where that fingerprint space is on my Samsung. On the iPad, I figured there was a mark in the center of the screen, so I kept pushing my finger there and nothing happened. It turns out that the fingerprint reader is in the home button at the bottom of the iPad. Once I found that out at T-Mobile, my fingerprint worked, and it's working flawlessly since. In the locked position, you'll see a little lock at the top of the screen. When I put my finger on the home button, you'll see that it's unlocked. I can just then press the home button, and I'm on my home screen. It was done, and it was that simple. The next thing I did was to move some of the screen icons to the second screen so that only the important and highly used icons would be on that first screen. And then I started installing some of the apps that I had on my old iPad. The first one that I wanted to install was my password manager, which is called eWallet from ℼ𝕠𝕟 software. Way back in 2000, I found a program to keep track of all my passwords and account numbers in an encrypted file. I carried a Palm PDA in those days. And as I said, the program was eWallet by ℼ𝕠𝕟 software with a version for both my Palm and later for my PC. I could sync the information as well. Once the Palm PDA and its successor were finally put to rest, I continued to use the program between my desktop, my laptop, and at that time my netbook. The encrypted file containing the data was easily copied, then synced between them. I purchased the original iPhone, and one of the first apps that I added then was the iOS version of eWallet. I could sync it with my PC version via Wi-Fi. It also works on both of my iPads. There's also a version for the Mac. I didn't want to change to some other password manager because I have almost 1,700 cards. So once again, I'm able to carry a program with me to access my passwords anytime. I have since added an iPad Air to the equation and a newer PC and a Chromebook and my Samsung S22 Ultra phone. I'm using eWallet on all of them. Next, I set up my email and it went extremely smoothly. I initially set up 4 email addresses. I set up my main email using my domain, my Gmail account, my Microsoft 365 email account, and my Apple iCloud email. I set them all up as IMAP accounts, so if I delete an email, it gets deleted from the server and the other devices at the same time. The next installation was Evernote, a program that I live by. I store all of the articles that I see online and that I wish to keep. I currently have over 22,000 notes stored, so I certainly want to have access to this important app. I've also installed Chrome and the Brave browsers. Since I have a MagicJack account, I installed its app and can use my iPad as a large phone. It has its own phone number through the internet, or VoIP. Next to install was the Amazon app, including Miss A. I also installed the Ring app to monitor my Ring cameras and my Ring doorbell. You'll notice in the video in the background an opossum, a feral cat, and even a coyote right outside my back door. I also installed the Chrome browser and a program called SimpleNote, which I use on my desktop and on my phone as well as my iPad, so I can type in a note on any one of those devices and it will show up on the others. I'm looking forward to start using all of the new features and capabilities of my new iPad. With a faster processor, crisp display, and cellular connectivity, this iPad will serve me well for years to come. Let me know if you have any app recommendations as I continue setting up my device and optimizing my workflow. And that's it. And now I have an iPad that I'm using and I love. And Bob, you're next with some ways to protect ourselves for the holidays. Go ahead.
Online shopping scams. Scammers create fake websites that look and perform similarly to the site of popular retailers, tricking people into providing financial information. These sites offer popular items at a fraction of the usual cost and promise perks such as free shipping and overnight delivery, exploiting the premium online shoppers put on price and speed. Phishing scams. In a phishing scam, a cybercriminal disguises themselves as a trusted source, like a retailer or charity, leading you to click on a malicious link in an email, instant message, or text, which then allows the attacker to steal their data, including login credentials and credit card numbers. Fake delivery scams. While shoppers await their package, cybercriminals take advantage of the hectic delivery season by sending fake delivery notifications via text or email, impersonating the Postal Service, Amazon, FedEx, or UPS. These notifications may link to a fake site or ask you to enter personal information or a credit card number, which they can then use for themselves. Gift card scams. Scammers will text, call, or email their targets with an urgent financial issue. Example, overdue taxes, mortgage payments, bills. The scammers then demand that the victims pay off their loans by purchasing gift cards and sending them the gift card's number and PIN. Overpayment scams. Scammers offer to buy items with a check that's more than the asking price. They then request the excess amount back. Later, their check bounces, and the seller loses out on the whole amount. Charity scams. People are exceptionally generous during the holiday season. Scammers exploit this by tricking them into donating to fake charities. These scammers either imitate real charities or create their own with convincing websites, all to steal from unsuspecting donors. Travel-related booking scams. Scammers create fake hotel and flight booking sites with alluring deals to steal money, personal information, and/or to harvest personal data, often leaving victims in the red and haunted by phishing emails. Investment scams. The new year is a time many people start thinking about their long-term financial goals and begin looking for good investment opportunities. Scammers take advantage of this annual trend by offering unsolicited investments on fake websites endorsed by a celebrity or by testimonials. Victims willingly share personal information, bank accounts, and credit card numbers, not knowing they're being conned. Fake gift exchanges. During the holidays, while White Elephant and Secret Santa are popular, be cautious of Secret Sister gift exchanges on social media. These are pyramid schemes that falsely promise up to a high number of gifts in return for sending one gift and your personal information. Temporary holiday job scams. With the rise of inflation, seasonal jobs will be more popular than ever this year. And with increased job demand comes a rush of fake offers and job posting scams. Scam artists will often send tempting email offers that urge you to click a link for further information, provide personal information that can be used to steal your identity, or even give bank routing details to prospective fake employers. Imposter scams. Being increasingly more common with the rise in AI technology, imposter scams occur when a scammer pretends to be someone you trust to convince you to send them money. Consumers need to be especially vigilant when they receive a message from a number or email address they don't know. Whether the scammers are trying to impersonate a family member or well-known company, consumers should double-check the sender's information before sharing any information or money. New pet scam. Family pets are a very popular gift during the holidays, especially with people able to dedicate more time away from work or school. Sadly, sometimes people are lured in by a cute puppy or other pet for sale, only to find out that they have been scammed out of their money. Consumers should watch out for people selling a dog or cat on social media, especially if asked to purchase through gift cards or Zelle. You'll find additional tips and information on this topic at the link listed. Stay safe, stay secure, enjoy your holidays, and avoid the scammers by remembering these tips. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye, and thanks for watching and listening.
Thanks, Bob. We just can't be warned enough because they make it so enticing that it's so easy to fall into the traps that they set for us.
The trick now
thanks
is
for
to
doing
listen. Yeah, the trick now is to listen to the advice.
Yep. At this point, we're going to end the live broadcast that's going out to YouTube. We thank anyone who's on the YouTube channel for joining us. We do have room for you to come in if you want to be part of the Q&A that's coming up. And if not, we'll see you next week. And I'm going to go ahead and end that. And with that, we can now go to our music section and our music maestro, Ray Baxter. So go ahead, Ray.
Thanks, Hewie. Now and Then, the Beatles' final song. John Lennon had officially retired from the music business in 1975, but continued to make demo recordings into the late 1970s at his apartment home in the Dakota Hotel in New York City. At the time, he used a Sony CF-580 cassette recorder that had two built-in condenser microphones, and he would typically accompany himself on piano. Now, Paul knew of these recordings, and in particular the song Now and Then. He contacted John's wife Yoko, asking if he could borrow the cassette tape, and she agreed, giving it to him in person in January 1994. Now, it was a year later, 1995, that Paul, George, and Ringo went into the studio attempting to convert John's 1979 cassette demo into a finished Beatles song. It soon became apparent, however, that the sound quality of the cassette was poor, and in particular, the sound of the piano tended to drown out John's vocals. While George added rhythm guitar tracks during these sessions, in the end, he did not want to go forward with the project due to these sound quality concerns. I'm guessing they may have agreed to begin the process again at some future date, but as we all know, in 2001, George died at the age of 58, and most would have thought this was the end of the story. But thanks to today's audio technology, we now have the expertise to separate vocals from instruments into their own individual tracks. This was done in 2022 with contributions now from all four Beatles: John from the original cassette tape, George from the 1995 sessions, and what Paul and Ringo added during the finalization of the song. Now and Then was released on November 2, that's last week, and the track is now accessible on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Prime Music. Additionally, physical formats, including CD and vinyl, are to follow. I think most would agree this celebrates the legacy of the foremost and the most influential band in popular music history. So there's going to be two links in the chat. One is the video link I'm about to show, and then there's another link that's just the audio, but here we have it. It's expected that that song will be #1 in the UK next week.
Probably the world.
We'll find out. But
Yep,
that's what I love
excellent.
about today's technology, how we could take something that was assumed not that many years ago unproductive and to turn it into a hit song.
Okay, thank you very much. Boy, it brings back a lot of good memories of the Beatles. I remember seeing ads in Billboard when I was in college of the coming of the Beatles to the US and the fact that they were going to be something to reckon with in the music industry, and they certainly were.
I remember
thanks for
when
that.
they were. I remember when they were on the big shoe.
Yes. Okay, with that, we conclude the main part of the meeting. We're going to go into the Q&A in just a moment, but I do want to remind you of the premiere recording that will be available at the half hour on EV Cars Part 2 by Mike Ungerman, my favorite YouTube channels from Ron Brown, and the side search panel that I did. So be sure on the half hour to go to the YouTube channel, find that video, and you'll be able to watch all 3 of them. And we've chopped them up in 3 parts. So those of you who are in user groups and want to use those, you're more than welcome to do so. So we'll start the Q&A. Carl, you have your hand up. You're first.
Okay. You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There's 2 things that I do on Mondays particularly is watch How the Universe Works. It's a couple hours of shows about the universe, and Tech for Seniors. And I both walk away from both being very humbled.
I'm waiting for more. I'm waiting for more, but that is a dynamic statement, and we appreciate that, Carl. Thank you very much.
I mean, I'm putting you in the category of you can't get any bigger than the universe.
All right. Well, I'm trying.
I mean, with Chris, I mean, it's a blockbuster. Chris, I mean, it's dynamite, you know, Bob and his stuff, and Ray, you know, you can listen to the music, but until you see that video of how it's done in the background, it's like, you know, looking at the stars with your blank eye versus looking at it with a telescope. It's totally different experience.
Well, good. Well, we put a lot of work into these shows, and we're glad you appreciate it, and the others are obviously do because they're here week after week. So thank you. Be sure to tell your friends. We've got room for some more people, and we'd love to have some new people join us and get some use out of it, as well as tell your friends about watching them on YouTube.
And the price for the front row seats is the same as the back row.
That's right. The nosebleed section is no cheaper than the front row seats. All right. Any other comments, questions? This is the Q&A. I want to say I am having a lot of fun with my iPad and deciding what programs and what apps to go ahead and put on it. I'm limited in the amount of space, as the old iPad had 128 gigabytes. This only has 64, so I've got to be a little bit more selective. But I'm using it a lot, and I think Apple really does a bang-up job on everything they do. And I've used a lot of tablets. I've got one of the Fire tablets from Amazon. I've used some others. My Chromebook was just too big, too heavy to carry around as easily as I do the iPad. It's light, it's quick, responsive, it's fast. I am so enamored with it, and I really like it. Ron, you have your hand up.
I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed Chris and Jim's pictures from their holiday, and I followed them. It was so much fun following you as you went to the different places in England and watched you as you added the pictures. It is a lot of fun, and for sure, I think if you're traveling and you're going to different places around the world, create an album and get people to follow. It really is the way for people to enjoy your pictures.
Thanks, Ron. And Yeah, I sure think so. And even better than Facebook, because I mean, Facebook is still a great way to share pictures with all your friends that are on Facebook, which a lot of ours still are, but a lot of them aren't. And the other thing is, if you do it through the Google Photos, you're a winner as well. You know, when the trip is over, you already have your album all together and organized. So yeah. And you don't have to use Google in order to view them. I was wondering if anybody here clicked on the link and saw the pictures, even though they couldn't join the album. They couldn't make comments. They couldn't, anybody can click the link and see the pictures. And I think that's a pretty cool thing too. Thanks.
It was great. Thank you. I do have a question for you, Chris. You said that because I joined, I would get a notice of when you added more. How does that notice come? Because I didn't get one.
On your phone?
It's a Google Photos notification. Now, if you
You have to open up Google Photos or be in
and so it depends on your settings for your notifications. I mean, some people might get a ding and a big box on their screen on their phone, and some people might only get the little red dot next to their Google Photos icon.
So if you're interested in following, say, a relative or something, it would be a good thing then to make sure you've got the right settings so you do see or hear something and know that there's newer pictures in there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, to test it a little bit, have them send and see if you are notified. And a lot of people who just don't use Google Photos very often, but they do have an account, so they're able to join, but they don't pay any attention to those notifications. I will still send out emails, say, hey, people, I've added some new pictures. Here's the link.
Check it out.
Here's the link. So people who don't pay attention to Google Photos notifications will still see them.
So the other thing, Chris, sorry.
Go ahead, Ron.
I just want to ask, Chris, the other issue is if Jim had taken pictures, he could share them to that album, and then people following along would still be, so if a husband and wife were traveling and they were both taking pictures, if they shared them to that album and then shared the album with everybody, then both your pictures would be available, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the ones that we put up there, but you have to be careful because they're collaboration. If Chris were to turn collaboration on so that I can contribute pictures, anyone with the link with Google Photos can contribute. So she would have to turn off collaboration. I would add my pictures in there, and then she would turn collaboration back.
Good point. All right.
Off
because obviously if a husband and wife are traveling, you might both want to put pictures in the album. Right?
Absolutely. So I love that collaboration. And even when we go on a scuba diving trip with our scuba club, I make one album and everybody joins and everybody contributes pictures. So it's a whole group album. And that collaboration feature, that is on by default.
So you got to be careful.
A little bit dangerous, but that means the album that I just created during the show, the TFS Geeks in London, collaboration is on. Give it a shot. You could add a photo to it.
Be nice.
Yeah, you'd be asking for a little bit of trouble there.
Yeah.
Well, with this group, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Jim Glass, go ahead.
Just a word of warning with when you share this stuff, a lot of times the criminal out there is also following along and can tell from your emails that you're traveling and you're not there, so that they can find out where you are, where you live, and break in. And this happens particularly with geotagging. And having heard what you're saying about the Google Photos, that seems to be a possibility as well. I did 31 years law enforcement, and I can tell you they're always looking for something.
Well, they would need to be included in that. Number one, they have to have some sort of access. You have to give them some sort of access. And we are geeks on tour. Understand, we're always on tour. we don't care that people know that we're away. We expect people to know that we're away. But you're absolutely right. There is a security issue involved with that. But we don't particularly need to deal with that. So
There's only so much I can worry about.
yeah, there really is. Now that's part of your job. So good job.
And the 4 Dobermans that protect your house would be more than happy to have some
Well,
extra
yeah,
food.
my son checks on the place regularly. I have a camera, that kind of stuff.
And our business address is a mail forwarding service. So.
Yeah, our business address is up in Green Cove Springs, up in Florida.
But yeah, it is something to be aware of, but I just can't worry about too much.
Right.
Okay, Bob, you have your hand up.
Yeah, this past weekend we had a pumpkin hunt and hayride at a park that I am I'm the vice president of a nonprofit, and this was open to the public. And of course, I also shared the photo album of the pictures that I took during that event, and that was shared with the community. And we've had quite a few contributions added because, hey, there are other people there that were taking pictures besides myself. So that item of maybe 50 or 60 photos that I took, we now got a couple of 100 photos in there because of contributions from those that attended. That's a nice feature.
Absolutely. The other thing is that I take a lot of pictures and post them of events that I go to. I never have me in any of the pictures because I'm taking.
Yeah, well, that's my problem too. I take all the pictures and I'm never there.
Well, that's a feature too,
And so with other people taking pictures and posting them along with and then getting them in the album, at least you're in a few of them and people know you've been there. Ron?
I tried now every once in a while to remember, take a selfie while you're there.
But coming back to Chris again, isn't that an advantage of using Google Photos over Facebook? Because if you're publishing the pictures to Facebook, your audience is very big, and you're looking at, like Jim said, that could be a problem. But with Google Photos, I mean, your audience is very limited, and only who you are inviting to those to view that album. So it's mostly those would be your friends, right? Rather than the bad guys. The bad guys aren't going to see that, but the bad guys could see it on Facebook, right?
Yes.
So I think that's it's a plus for Google Photos.
Absolutely, but it's not absolute. I mean,
right.
Absolutely, but it's not absolute.
Anybody with the link.
Anybody with the link can also reshare that link.
Right.
So if you have a friend that decides to post that link on Twitter,
right.
then it's out there. But yeah, that's still relatively.
And you can
rare.
go in and you can kick them out too, as the owner.
You can absolutely kick out anybody, and all the pictures that they posted get kicked out along with them.
And Ron, in my case, I posted my stuff also to YouTube and the local community. So,
that's the idea. You want to do that.
Correct.
Jim Glass, I guess a final word or final question from you.
Just a suggestion. Turn off your geotags when you take the photos on a trip.
No.
Okay,
no.
Because you know where you are. But you don't necessarily want
no, Jen.
No, I'm not directing it to you guys who are in the business of sharing all of this stuff and getting an audience. I'm talking about us individuals.
First, I just want to say that if you create
it's just a problem that I want.
Listen, please.
I want you to know about. That's all.
If you create an album with Google Photos, it automatically strips the geotag. If you look at the photos that I shared, you will not find any geotags, even though I love geotags. So I have to make sure to go in and change the settings so that the geotags are there. But by default, no geotags.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, we want to thank you for attending Tech for Seniors today. Don't forget Tech for Senior Live on Thursday. Don't forget the premiere on the half hour. And don't forget the Windows SIG or WinSig on Sunday. And with that, for the staff and all the people putting this show together, thanks for attending. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So long.